Still got some folks jumping on, but that's top of the hour. Let's get rolling here. Got a great call lined up for you, so let's get some leaderboards going and share a couple announcements. Remember, obviously next weekend, Thanksgiving, exciting times. Be sure this weekend. I know a lot of you have been talking have really loaded up on the schedule and knocking out some appointments this weekend. So great job thinking ahead there and be very intentional about the upcoming week because obviously with families and schedules and everything, we want everybody to enjoy that time, but also don't want it to derail you on production. So be intentional about that. And, I was thinking this morning, it hit me, and I don't know why I hadn't thought of this before, but, so a couple things, obviously, day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, in the past, that's always been, big day. Everybody goes out, shops. There still probably will be some of that, but I think, in my opinion, probably going to be a lot less of that, which means there's probably more people sitting around doing that stuff online, which great opportunity, guys. Black Friday. And I'm, you think about things to be thankful for, and we've got this new sales system where you could be sitting at home yourself, even with family around, and run a couple appointments on Friday. We've already had a ton of success just running regular Fridays, and running business. But think about a Black Friday where you've got a lot of people sitting around, captive audience. I mean, this is a great opportunity. So grab a turkey leg in your stretchy pants and jump online and knock out a few appointments on Black Friday. So let's hit some leaderboards. Speaking of Fridays and the sale day, we always like to go back and circle back and pick up the numbers that turned in after the team call on Friday. So last week, we actually had several apps. In fact, total, I didn't have these up. Looks like we had about 8 apps total come in last week after the call. And that's awesome. Love to see that. So this is in addition to what these folks had already written last week. Miss Teri Myers had 2 applications for $133 direct to Stella Dinwiddie. Mark Roberts had 1 application, $291 direct to John Paul Vetter. Stella had 1 application for $357 direct to myself. Lionel Anderson had 2 applications for $910 direct to John Paul. And Donna had 2 applications. Donna Bates, 2 applications for $1,300 direct to Spencer Cushion. And again, all these were APVs added on top to what they had already written for the week. So again, Friday, a great day to be tacking on some extra numbers and rounding out your week. Next Friday, Black Friday, will be the last day of turn-in for the month of November. So again, be very intentional about your week and make sure that you round out, finish out your week, not only just from the production financial side, taking care of yourself financially, but also be watching promotion guidelines. If you're close on numbers, don't leave it to chance. Make sure you over-index on those numbers, have plenty put in that you can make sure that you're knocking down those numbers. So great job, guys, circling in last week and finishing out. So let's go over top 10 for this week. We had another really solid week. And again, I know we've got a lot of people with Friday loaded up today and even over through the weekend, getting some business in. But let's hit what we have so far on the boards for the week. Number 10, Neosha Armstrong had 1 application, $1,416 direct to myself. Mr. John Paul Vetter, 1 application, $1,982 direct to myself. Lionel Anderson had 3 applications, $2,158 direct to John Paul Vetter. James McKeon, 2 applications, $3,648 direct to John Paul. David Willis, 2 applications, $4,069 direct to John Paul. Diane Newman, 2 applications, $4,122 direct to Spencer Cushion. Natalie Hermit had 5 applications, $4,981 direct to Eric Sullivan. And actually, let me make a note here. Natalia had 5 applications, which was at count lead for the week. So congratulations. And really a solid week there at 49.81. There you go. Number 3, Mr. Spencer Cushion had 4 applications, $5,001 direct to myself. Dale Menefee had 3 applications, $5,700 direct to myself. And the number 1 for the week, man, this guy is fast rising as a writer in the agency, Mr. Andy McKinley, number 1 for the week, 4 applications, $6,510 direct to myself. Congratulations, everybody. And, a lot of families, 32 families helped this week so far. And again, I know several of you are going to go out and help more before the end of the day. And we will definitely next time we're back on a call, we're going to recognize all those additional apps that come in. So great job, guys. Without further ado, we've got a great call lined up for you. I want to turn over, give plenty of time to our host with the most and her crew, Miss Stella Dinwiddie, team leader, fast growing team. Last month, I think we announced this. I know it came up on, I believe it was the Pogue call, but and I think we mentioned it already. But her team hit first month qualifying for agency owner last month. It's a 3-month run, so we've still got some numbers to turn in. But man, they're having a great month again. So great job, Stella and team Dinwiddie. You guys are killing it. So, Stella, I'm going to go ahead and turn the call over to you and let you run with it.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. And first of all, I just want to say how thankful and blessed I am to be here. Like, I have to pinch myself every day, and I'm so grateful. I'm grateful to be able to host this call. It's a true privilege to be able to share my heart with you all. And each time, that I'm able to share my heart with you, I'm always trying hard to think about what can I do to impact you? What was important to me when I first started, or even now? What are good reminders? What can help me be better at my job? What can help me be better with my team? What can help me just be better in general, every single day, right? Because that's what Symmetry, what we do here is we look at what can we do to better ourselves, self-development. That's number 1. Jim Rohn always says that, you can, oh my gosh, I hope I don't mess this up, but he says something about how, if you work on yourself harder than you do your business, then you will succeed more. Something like that. But basically, it says work harder on yourself than you do your business. I mean, that's the bottom line. Work harder on yourself, because you hear across the board all the time. I can't say it enough that, it's mindset, which includes attitude, belief, and all of that in everything that we do. And so, one of the things that when I was able to host, I love digging into people's why, because I was not always good at it, and I'm still learning a lot. And I learn so much through all the audios about digging into people's why, because we can never be in that why pocket long enough. That is the biggest part of how we get to help people. And before I go there, I just want to share something real quick about piggybacking on what Chris said about Black Friday. It made me think of another thing that Jim Rohn said. I love Jim Rohn. If none of you have ever listened to his audios, they're free off YouTube. They are amazing. And especially when I first began, people would be like, gosh, how do you keep that attitude? How do you this? How do you that? Well, I feed my brain every morning before I start my day, because how you start your day is the rudder of your day, like which direction you're going to go, right? But so what Jim Rohn said, and something that I heard, was he said that when it's a rainy day and the storms are out, he says, he's giving this example about how you have the salesman that looks out the window. This is about attitude. He looks out the window and he says, oh my gosh, there's a storm, it's raining outside. I think I better, everybody's going to be inside anyways. I better stay inside. I'm not going out today. And he goes, but the other salesman says, wow, that's a pretty hefty storm out there. Everybody must be inside. Everybody must be home. And I'm going to go out there. I'm going to go knock on those doors. And by the way, probably the salesmen are at home too. So it's that outlook, excuse me, how you look at things. So when you are looking at the holidays or Black Friday or whatever it is, it's your attitude. It's how you see it. Do you see it as, wow, you know, those people out there, a lot of them are going to be home. And Chris reminded us last week or 2 weeks ago about how, hey, during the holidays, you know, people are gathering. And it is, you know, unfortunate, but it's true. You know, people are thinking about the year past. It's a time when they're thinking about, you know, my brother was affected by COVID. I'll tell you, Eva's not here with us today because her brother-in-law was just contracted with COVID, and she's not feeling good today. She has a splitting headache. You know, she's feeling, you know, really terrible. She doesn't know if she has it, but, you know, I will ask all of you to share your thoughts and prayers that, you know, their home's not affected. But, you know, it's a time of year that everybody sits around and they share those stories about things that impact their why. Yeah, my brother, you know, this happened to them, and, you know, now his wife, you know, she's having to sell her house, or all those stories are being circulated right now. So actually, now is the best time. And everybody's out of the summer vacation mode. They're home. So they're home for us. So before you start letting your mind play with you, because again, it's a mindset of, oh, well, I don't want to bother them. It's, you know, Thanksgiving time. You know, there's going to be some people, they'll be like, yeah, it's Thanksgiving, I can't be bothered now. But those are going to be far and few in between. You're always going to have someone that's going to give you a reason why not. So I just wanted to put that out there because that's something that I get excited about. And I know that I'm an overly optimistic person. So I just, you know, for me, I have to work on my discipline. But anyways, so, you know, digging into their why. So what I wanted to talk about is digging into their why and where that starts, how to get there, that whole process. And before I dig deeper into their why, I do want to share, you know, with you two people on my team who, it was going to be three, but as you know, Eva's not feeling well. So Miss Teri Myers and Miss Tasia Frater are going to share with you, excuse me, the one question that they feel like has helped them in asking, you know, about their why and why that works for them. And then when they're done, I've got about 10 pages of notes of just, you know, digging into their why, and we'll get into that even deeper. But I didn't want it just to be, you know, me talking the whole time. And so I love, you know, being able to bring these gals on because they're so amazing. You know, they have so much to share, and I love hearing what they have to say in our small team meetings. And so I want them to be able to share some of that with you so that you can get some of that too. So first of all, I'd like to bring on Miss Teri Myers. If you would kindly unmute yourself and share with us, you know, the one why that, you know, you felt like that works for you, and, you know, how that has helped you and all that, please.
Okay, thanks, Stella. Good morning, everybody. I actually had maybe more than one question, Stella, because I have one that kind of leads into the next. But the one I use on all my calls, you know, for pretty much every single call is, why is getting mortgage protection insurance important for you? And see what they say. A lot of times you'll get a really good answer, and sometimes you'll get, you know, well, we just want to have it paid off for my wife or whatever, if anything happens to me. And so I tend to try to, you know, listen and absorb what they're saying, and then also answer back with what they've responded. You know, okay, Mr. Smith, I can understand, you know, that you would want your home paid off for your wife or whatever the case is. But my point is kind of repeat back what they said to you when they give you that initial answer. And I kind of lead into that with, okay, if you died today in your mind's eye, what would that look like for your family? And again, a lot of times you'll get a really short answer like, oh, it'd be tough. Well, that's not really the best answer that we would like to hear necessarily, but a lot of times that's what you'll get. And sometimes you'll get some folks that will elaborate and really give it some thought and give you a really good answer. But when I get the, yeah, it'd be tough. Okay, well, why? Why would it be tough for your family? So I think for me, that's the beginning part of peeling that onion, asking the why questions. I've found for myself, that's probably been one of the more uncomfortable areas for me to get comfortable with in my calls. I'm still working on it. I'm always, making notes and hearing something on an audio or something that somebody uses, and I try to incorporate that the best that I can. But very much so, I'm a work in progress in this area too. I do find though, when I get a good why, dig down deep enough into it, almost always I write an application on that, on that client. So it's just so important. But like I said, I think just high level, Stella, just asking them why it's important. Start there. I think that's really like the first layer of the onion that you start to peel as you continue to dig in.
That's perfect. See, I love that, Teri, because what I heard you say is, one of the couple of key points there is you said repeat back to them what they told you. And that does so much, folks. It validates them. They want to know that you are listening to them.
Yeah, they want to know that you heard them, that you're listening.
Exactly. That's perfect. And I love how, you were able to describe, Teri, how, it's not always easy to peel back that onion. So, and when you ladies are done, I'm actually going to go into some really hardcore, deep, why asking questions. That was hard for me at first, but the more you ask it, the easier it gets. So thank you so much, Teri. Just love what you shared. So proud of you. So grateful that you're on my team. Tasia, can you unmute yourself, darling? And let's go ahead and introduce Miss Tasia Frater next.
Sure. Hi. Good morning, everyone. Absolutely. Like Stella and Teri, and I'm sure many others of you, this is definitely an area that's a work in progress for me, in all transparency. And it's something that I am striving to get better at. And I recognize, like so many other people, that, I have to try to get more comfortable being uncomfortable in that situation. But one thing that I've discovered, or one thing that I've used in connecting with, families, is really asking, who are you looking to protect, right? Being a little bit more direct with that approach. And then you'll get, my son or my daughter. And then at that point, really starting to connect a name with that person. So, okay, so would they be the beneficiary then? What's that person's name? Why is that important, to you, for them to be able to do that? And kind of discovered a few things. Okay, well, if it's their children, do they own homes of their own, right? And especially if it's an older person, starting to talk about, okay, well, how long have you had this home? And kind of connecting, get into kind of the equity part of it, and talking about the bigger value and what it is, beyond just the mortgage protection, what the bigger picture is for them, and making that connection, and why it is important to kind of making sure they preserve what is the legacy, or with multiple children, making sure that if they're looking to potentially sell the home, what that would look like from a financial standpoint for them. So, then you can get those names and try to connect. And later on in that conversation, talking about, okay, so, Joe, or, your wife, or whoever the person may have been, okay, from our conversation, being able to connect that, and, having a deeper conversation, as Teri mentioned, people want to feel heard, and wanting to know that you care and that you listened enough to remember those names, and being able to connect those dots. So for me, asking, who is it that you're looking to protect, and delving into it a little bit more once you've kind of gotten that name, and, you can ask a little bit more questions at that point to kind of bring everything to full circle.
Yeah, that's perfect. See, this is why I have them up here, because I don't know if you noticed, but when Tasia just went through about, who are you looking to protect? Why is that important to you? How long have you had this home? Making that connection. She basically used about 5 of some of the things that we're going to cover later of how important it is to ask those open-ended questions. And, those open-ended questions, and I see some of you writing, so, I love watching people take notes, because I heard somewhere that they said the shortest pencil is better than the longest memory. And I know that to be true about myself. It's the only way that I can get myself better and remember. Like, I have a ton of notes in my office to this day. That's why I love telesales, because I have reminders all up on my wall, to help me. But anyways, Tasia mentioned, those open-ended questions. And if you have your pen and pencil, we're gonna come into this later. But for right now, go ahead and write this down on the most important open-ended questions, just the one words that you'll use in those open-ended questions. Ready? It is who, what, when, where, why, and how. Who, what, when, where, why, how. And we're going to dig deeper into that. So, just to kind of come back to the beginning. And Tasia, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I love every time, you seem so quiet sometimes, but then I love when we ask you to open up, because you really, really do. And you always have so much to offer. Thank you so much. So proud of you. So digging into their why. Sorry, I have a ton of notes. And if I seem a little off today, folks, I've been flying by the seat of my pants because I just moved this last weekend. And so you can't see all the unpacked boxes. And for some of you who don't know, I haven't had internet. I haven't been able to really dial since last Friday. So I am so excited to get back on the horse, so to speak. I actually did last night, and that was really awesome. But so eager to get back into their why. So digging into their why. One thing that I wrote down is that the why starts on the phone, on that initial phone call, after you do a quick risk assessment. And notice how I said quick, because those phone calls, they're not meant for you to be on them for a long time. You just want to make the appointment. So when you hear me say that the why starts on the phone, you're not, you do want to ask why. Like, for example, on our client qualification sheet, you should always be asking at the end, after you've gone through the quick assessment and all the other questions, hey, Teri, so, I understand, you have this and that. So who are you trying to protect? Like, what do you want this coverage to do for your family? What were you hoping for this, mortgage insurance to do? It's those kind of questions that you're going to ask at the end, and you're going to write it down. You're going to validate it. So, okay, so I understand, you said that it sounds like, in case your husband died, it's going to be really difficult for you. So you're more concerned about covering your husband right now at this point. Is that correct? Yes, that's correct. Okay, and I write that down. And then I go into, okay, well, I have enough information to go to work for you, and then go on to that. That's about it. You don't need to spend, in my opinion, and if anyone else has a different opinion about it, on the phone, when you're making the appointment, it is important to get out their why, like, why did they send it in? And, how am I here to help you? But you're not there to try to sell them on the phone during the appointment making time. And the reason I say that is because I tried to do that in the beginning, and Chris used to correct me on that. and I didn't get it. You know, I would spend way too much time trying to go into what it's going to do before I could even make the appointment, and I struggled with it. So if any of you catch yourself doing it, don't do that. Your goal is to make that appointment. Once you get more experience, like you get a lot more experience underneath your belt, and you're quickly able to move onto the computer and, you know, run some quotes, and you know how you can help them because of their age and their health, then you can, you know, move into that, because, you know, many of us have done that. But I do not recommend that if you're brand new. Your biggest goal is to make as many appointments as you can, and to move through that. So, but it does start on the phone. The why starts on the phone. And Amy Fine did a great job in one of her audios. And again, if you're not, you know, plugging into all the older SoundCloud audios, man, you are missing out so much. Like, you're missing out on so much experience that can help you. You know, if you're calling out to your mentors, which is good, we want you to, but, you know, I commend, like, Destiny. You know, she is constantly telling me, yeah, I was listening to this audio, Stella, I was listening to that audio. And I love hearing that, because when I first started, that's what I did. Go back to those audios and listen to a lot of them, because it'll give you a lot of this good information. But anyways, to end the why, Amy Fine mentioned how a lot of her agents were having people that weren't showing up to appointments. And oftentimes she would go back and ask them, okay, well, when you talk to them on the phone, you know, what was their why? And they were like, oh, I forgot to ask. I don't know. I just got their name and risk assessment, made the appointment. Well, that's a big part of why you're going to help them, because how many times have you talked to someone who said, oh, I don't know, I just got the form, I thought I was supposed to fill it out, you know, it just came in the mail, I kept getting them. So you want to make sure that you have a why going into your appointment. You don't have to dig deep on the phone, you just need to know what their why is. Okay, all right, so we have that covered. Now, when you're actually in the appointment, I'm just going to refer you real back to the symmetry system, because the reason that we succeed here is because we follow the symmetry system that they've put in place. It works for every one of us that has utilized it. And part of that system is called the REAL system. And REAL are just initials for R means rapport, E means emotion, A means assumption, and L means lock it down. So if you have a pen and paper in front of you, I'm going to encourage you. You know, I used to be a trainer in sales and leasing, property management, all that kind of stuff. And one thing I learned a long time ago, which I actually applied here, was this little illustration where, you know, they taught us that you would take like a V shape, looks like a V like this, and we would say to everyone, when you're helping people at the very top, the top layer, you know, you can go ahead and write rapport. I'm changing the words from what we use to what symmetry teaches us, okay? So rapport is at the very top. You see, it doesn't take up that much space. The biggest space that you're going to spend time is in emotion, okay? And then down here, assumption is also, it's just, I'm going to assume that you're already assuming, because you should be. So I'm going to put assumption down there like that. And then down here is lock it down. Do you see how tiny lock it down is? This is a perfect example of where you should be spending your time with your family and how that rolls out. I sometimes will hear people say, what's your best closing, you know, or you know, you hear people ask, you know what, well, I was trying really hard to close them, or it's not about closing them. You don't close them. it's about the questions that you ask that draws them out to tell you why their why is important. And you need to hear it coming from them, not you. And before I give you some more examples and explain how to ask those questions, I'm going to share with you really quickly, because some of you that are brand new may have gone through this. When I was brand new last year, I had there was a weekend where I had a bunch of appointments, and I just wasn't closing them. We don't close people. But I wasn't helping them. And there was this one gal and I was so frustrated. I came out of this house and there was this one gal, she didn't have any life insurance. And she told me she wanted to, do something for her kids, when she wasn't there. And I remember driving out of there thinking, oh my gosh, I should have helped her. She had no life insurance. She wanted to, make sure the house went to her kids. And I knew I had written critical period many times already. So I'm like, what the heck is wrong? What's going on? And so I hear on these audios, call your mentor. So I pulled over on the side of the road. This was back when we used to go out in the field. And I called Chris, and holding back the tears. I was like, I don't know why I'm, because I had to pay rent. I had bills. So I'm like, I'm not helping people. What I don't understand what I'm doing. And he asked me, well, why don't you just tell me what happened? What did you say? What did she say? And so I told him, what I said and what she said. And at the end, he's like, Stella, I only heard you tell her what this plan was going to do for her. I didn't hear you ask her why she needed it, why it was important to her. And I know better. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. And I was so happy, because then it made me, like the light bulbs went off again. Like, how many of you feel like, oh gosh, the light bulb goes off again? Like, you're like, I know this stuff, like, why? And that was awesome. And then the following week, man, I started writing again. I was writing more and more because I focused more on the why. And Chris would always tell me in the beginning, you got to peel that onion back. You got to peel that onion back. But when you're brand new, and sometimes it's hard to understand, well, what does that mean? I mean, you can ask, and, we'll tell you, and he'll tell me, well, you got to ask him why it's important to you. But this is, again, why it's so important to listen to these audios and be in these meetings, because you're going to learn a lot of like what I've learned. And what I've learned is that, getting to their why initially, you heard, Teri, talk about, and Tasia, like, why is this important to you? Okay, maybe, after you go through your quick rapport, because everybody's time is valuable, so it's good to get to know them, but you don't want to spend a lot of time there. You move, right into your role and presentation, why you do this, maybe you share a story, and this is what I want you to emphasize, is when you share your own story with them, like, you give an example of what you have experienced, what has happened to you, maybe what's happened to your own family member. And, this is why, I am so passionate about wanting to help families and helping to see, how I can help them in those times, because this is what I experienced. This is what I saw. When you tell them your story, you let yourself become vulnerable with them. And what you do is you open the door for them to become vulnerable with you. You open your heart, as to why it's important to you. And, you explain, what you've experienced, how that has affected you. And then you let them become more comfortable with you. Because here's another thing that I wrote down somewhere. And it was, see why I told you that a shorter pencil is better than a longer memory, because I can't remember things for the life of me sometimes. But I wrote this down a long time ago, and I heard it on audio, and I was like, wow, that makes sense. L plus T equals PDWB, and it's like plus trust equals people definitely will buy. What does that mean? So when we open our heart and we connect with them, you know, it's a little dance, you know, you play in talking back and forth with that person, because they don't know you from Adam, and you just met them. So they want to, you know if they're comfortable enough to share with you. Are they comfortable enough to trust you? So, you want to just be real with them. And so when you share with them, they're going to share with you, and let them talk. I can't stress how important it is to let them talk. Like when you ask them questions, don't try to answer it for them. Don't try to start making assumptions and filling in the blanks for them. Tell yourself, shut up, let them talk. Because Casey Watkins always said, the first person that talks loses. And we all know that. And so don't talk, don't try, let them, the more they say, the more good open-ended questions you ask, and the more that they tell you, and the more they say of why they need it, the more people you're going to help. Because here's the thing, when people hear it coming out of their mouth, not ours, not like that example I gave to you, we're like, well, this is why you need it. I mean, like, we could identify all day long why they need it. Oh my gosh, they don't own any insurance. We all know that work insurance is great, but hey, it's not going to stay with you forever. You don't own it. It's not that true safety net. But if we tell them, it's not going to make a lick of difference to those people until they hear themselves say why they need it. And you might ask, well, how do I get them to, tell me why they need it? Well, it's that becomes all about asking those open-ended questions. And there's also another audio, which I will encourage you to listen to. You can write this down, just do a search on SoundCloud, Tom Chisholm's question-based answers, questions that sell, something like that. Anyways, it's really good. And he talks about how, when we're helping people, this is not like a tangible item that, we're going to help them to want to purchase, and they're not going to hang it on the wall. Not, it's not something like it is something that comes, it's a need. It's a need that they have, and we have to help them open up to figure out what their need is. And that's why we're called consultants, not salespeople. We consult with them. Our job is, is to find out, what do they need and how can I help them? If you go in there with that mindset, you're going to find their why, because it's not about the APV. Okay. It's about what they need. And we all know this. So, and I know that some of the questions that I'm going to go over, they may seem pretty aggressive, but, I'll tell you the same thing that I tell the people, the families that I'm sitting with. Hey, that's why we're here, right? And I'll say that. I'll say, and I know that some of these questions I may ask you, right now may seem pretty aggressive, but that's why we're here, right? I'm here to help you plan this out. My job is to, help you to find the most affordable coverage, but that's going to make sure that we meet your needs, Joe, and that if it's, within your budget, that's what I'm here to help you with. And actually, my real job is just to help you with that application and make sure that we get it processed through that, once you identify, what those needs are, and I'm able to help you with that. Really, my job, Joe, is just to help make sure that your application goes through without any problems. So the kinds of questions that you're going to ask them to open up emotions are, let's go through, like, you ask them, like Teri said, you'll ask them, oh, well, you go into your meeting, and Tom Chisholm, and thank you for posting that, Chris. Tom Chisholm does say at the beginning, he says, a lot of times I'll ask them, right before I start, the very beginning of the meeting, I'll bring out that lead sheet and I'll say, so, when Joe, you filled this out, tell me how can I help you? As simple as that. How can I help you? Because he says sometimes their answer may not be what he thought it was when he first talked to them on the phone. I mean, we talk to a lot of people, so we'll get a different answer, and that will help us right in the moment in the kinds of questions that we now know need what to ask, because it's all about the questions. And so you're gonna, so, you know, you ask them, you know, why, and then they might say, oh, you know, I just looking, you know, for, you know, prices. I mean, I just, you know, wanted to get a price. Okay, sure. You know, I understand. It sounds like, you know, you just want to get some pricing. I understand that. Why did you want to get some pricing? Like, why, you know, what difference does it make for you, Joe? Oh, you know, I mean, I just, you know, well, in case something happened to one of us, you know, I just want to see what, you know, how much that was going to cost. Oh, okay. What can you help me understand or help describe to me, you know, what would that mean for you? I guess maybe, you know, I should help me understand what would that mean for you if something happened to, you know, like you. And then, you know, and then you just, you know, kind of get that general first question. That's the first part of it. And then, you know, I always, for me, what works for me, and we're just going to stay on the why. So I'm going to try really hard to stay focused on the why. But as we get there, I need to explain to you that I will always do the fire drill before I get more deeper into the questions of the why. And for me, the fire drill is that little exercise, I think that Justin Finney does, and I love that. Especially with telesales, because I talk to a lot of people over the phone, not over Zoom or over Zoom. And that little exercise, if you don't know it, it's about, you know, I just say, hey, okay, you know, I understand, you know, your concerns, and I've told them already why it's important, you know, my role in presentation, I've gone through that. And then I say, hey, you know, Joe, let's, you know, do you have a pen and paper? And I always ask them that. And half the time they say, oh yeah. And I love those people. Sometimes they're like, oh no, let me go grab one. So they'll go grab one, and I wait for them, and they bring it back, and I say, okay, well, I'm going to help you just, you know, do a quick little exercise that is going to help you, you know, and Mary to be able to, you know, see a bird's eye view of, you know, how we can best help you, you know, how, and really, because I don't want to recommend something to you, Joe, that you don't need, you know, that's inappropriate. So, right. And, you know, they'll agree. They're like, yeah, you know, and so I'll say, okay, so go ahead on your piece of paper and, you know, just draw a circle, and they'll draw a circle, and then, you know, go through the expenses, and then I have them draw the little man and woman stick figure with the line that connects to the circle. I'm not going to get deep into that, but it's basically outlines what the male's income is and what the female's income is. And it has a line, and it goes into that circle of what the outgoing expenses are. And then from there, you know, I'm able to validate their situation by saying, okay, so it looks like on here, I see you got about, including your mortgage, we got about 5,000 going out, right? And then looking at this, it looks like, Joe, you know, you bring in about 6,000, and Mary, you know, you bring in about 1,000. Is that correct? And they'll say, yeah, that's correct. And that's powerful. You'll hear people say, let the numbers do the lifting. Folks, that's some heavy lifting that those numbers will do for you, because now they're seeing on paper, Joe makes all the money. We've got $5,000 going out each month. They may not even think about it, because if, you know, in my past marriage, I was always like, you know, he pays the bills. I just put my check in the bank, and I don't even look at it, think about it, nothing. And not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that that's just how sometimes we are as couples. And that's how a lot of people out there are. They don't think about it. You know, it's just like, oh yeah, he's got it handled. You know, I'm, you know, he's my strong husband. I don't need to worry about anything. But all of a sudden, if you're putting that on paper in front of them and they're looking at that income, now I say, okay, so Joe, you know, and I would go back to my story, you know, what happened to me and my family. And okay, so if Joe, if you're no longer here, because, you know, that's why we're here talking, right? Is to help you prepare and plan for your family. So go ahead and put a line through that 6,000. We no longer have that coming in. And they're going to look at it. And now when they have a cross through that, you know, shows 5,000 going out, and then the 6,000's got a line through it. And as Tim Punso says, you know, now we unplug the ATM of the family. Then I ask, what specific challenges would that be like for you, Mary? And I shut up. I don't say anything. It can get quiet for a couple of minutes. Sometimes at first it might be uncomfortable, but that's a good quiet because it tells me that they really haven't thought about it. And sometimes, you know, you'll have people say, oh, you know, he might, you know, chime in, oh, she'll be okay because I've got this and that. You know, and I'll say, okay, what, and you know, I'll let him talk, and I'll say, when you say you have this and that, what does that mean? You know, I'll ask him about, you know, like 401ks, IRAs, that kind of stuff, and then I'll say, okay, and sometimes the 401ks and IRAs are not that much. Sometimes there's little as like $5,000, $10,000, and after taxes, where does that really leave her? It doesn't get her very far. And so I've learned to, like, I'll let them, you know, tell me what they have. And then I'll write it down. I'll say, okay, so it sounds like you got a 401k and about, so how much do you have in there, Joe? And he's going to tell me, oh, well, I don't know, you know, I'm new at my job, you know, so it's probably, I don't know, how long you've been there? Oh, about, you know, 3 years. Okay, so it's probably like 5,000 or 10,000. Yeah, I'm more like 5,000. Okay, and I'll write that down. And then, you know, they're little amounts. And then, so when I got those written down, and I'll say, go ahead and write those down on your paper. Then Mary, I'll turn to her and I'll say, okay, so Mary, this question is really for you. You know, so, you know, we know that, you know, once taxes are taken out of those, you know, those nest eggs, how long do you think you'll be able to stay in that house there when that income's no longer coming in? And I'll let her answer. And she may say, well, not very long. And I'll say, okay, well, how long is not very long? Is that like, you know, 2 months or 3 months, 5 months? You know, and then those are the peeling back the onion questions. And then you continue to ask, you know, you're going to ask her then. So, and this is where we're going to come into, and you're not going to stop there, because let me tell you, one time the light bulb went off in my head again. And when Chris said, just keep asking questions. And I'm like, just keep asking questions. Just keep asking questions. All of a sudden the light bulb went off and I thought, oh, you know what? Just act like, you know, a little kid that is innocent and doesn't know anything, like act almost dumb. Like, well, when you say, because you and I, we realize, we know what that means, but you cannot start just, you know, thinking that's enough, because that's not enough. You ask more questions like, okay, so you're only going to be able to stay in there for 2 or 3 months. What will that look like for you after that 2 or 3 months, you know, before that panic buttons gets hit? And they're going to think about it, because this is where you start drawing the emotion out. And this is where you need to use your ears and shut up. Because I'll tell you, the most people that I helped was when I was quiet and I listened to them. And especially, you know, after you've asked them, you know, ask them, you know, how will that affect you? And when the wife answers with, you know, she's going to answer with some pretty tough answers, it's okay to ask the husband, so Joe, how does that make you feel to hear her say that? I know that seems pretty aggressive, and it was kind of hard for me to ask that in the beginning, but let me tell you, if you knew that would make the difference of Mary being like homeless or struggling with her kids and where she's going to live, would you rather know that you helped her stay in that house, or that she was able to grieve for her husband? Or would you rather just feel wimpy that, oh, I don't want to ask that because, you know, that's pretty aggressive? Well, it might seem aggressive, but folks, this is why we're here, is because in that time, I mean, we don't know when we're going to die, you know, and I tell people, you know, I didn't expect to get, you know, diagnosed with a couple of cancers years ago in my younger years. I mean, I'm healthy today and I'm super grateful, but I didn't expect it. Nobody expects to get a heart attack. We didn't expect my dad to leave us with a massive heart attack. You don't expect, you know, your uncle got in a car accident. You don't expect things. And this is why we're here, because for that unexpected time, and I just, you know, and I just want to help figure out what is the bottom line that you need here to help you through that process. And this is when these questions come into play. The who, what, when, where, why, and how. Because you're going to ask them, okay, who will be affected? Those are open-ended questions. What will it look like for you? What specific challenges, you know, would you face when his income is gone? Where will you guys have to go? Where will you want to go? Why? Why do you think that would happen? I don't know, maybe we would, you know, probably have to sell the house. Well, why do you think that would happen? Why do you think that you'd have to move, Mary? How? Well, how will you guys be affected by this? How long do you think you can stay here when he passes? How long do you want to stay here? How will you be financially challenged? How long do you want to stay in the house? You know, those are great questions for the critical period, because sometimes people go in there to the meeting thinking, yeah, I want to cover the whole mortgage. And when you get down to the bottom line of it, they're like, you know, you help them see how, hey, you know what, if Mary doesn't even plan to stay in there, I know you want to take care of her. And especially if, you know, someone has a lot of, you know, medical ailments, you know, or they have like, they're older, so they don't qualify for a long period of term or for a whole lot. So those are great questions to be able to circle back to with, you know, hey, you know, okay, so Mary, I heard you say, and again, like Teri said, repeat back what they said, always be validating. Write that down. That's new. I just made that up. Always be validating. Because you know what that does? It tells your family you are listening. And the best people to help people are the ones that listen, not the ones, they don't want to hear someone telling them they need, what to do. None of that matters. So the less talking and the more questions you're asking, the more people you're going to help. And this is how you do it. So you're going to, you know, and you're going to circle back. You're going to validate. Okay, Mary, so I hear you say that, you know, you're not even going to stay in the house very long. You're not going to want to stay in there. You know, sounds like, you know, it's too many memories for you, or it's too much of a house. You know, you're on, you know, 50 acres. I've had this happen to me multiple times. Yeah, I've got 50 acres here. There's no way I could do it by myself. It's too much upkeep. Okay, so, you know, it sounds like really, you know, then what would be most important to you? Can I tell you what I see as my best recommendation to you and what 99% of my families do in this case? So again, you're also, you're doing multiple things here. You are helping them. People like to go with what do they call it? You know, they like to go with what everyone else does. There's a saying for that. I don't know how to say it, but they like to do what everyone else is doing. And so you are subliminally telling them that. And then you are also helping them to see that, well, Mary doesn't want to stay in this house when you're not here, Joe. So really, I know you want to take really good care of her, but I know you have a budget to work with. So really, you know, the best thing you can give to her is time. It's time for her to grieve, time for her to be able to, thank you, Lee. Yes, herd. It's the herd mentality, the herd mentality. Thank you. Yes. But you're going to tell them, you know, that all you need to do is give her time to grieve, you know, time to be able to figure things out. Walk them through it. You know, it sounds like you might need to, you know, put the house up for sale then, right? What do you think that involves? Remember who, what, when, where, why, how. Always have that on your wall to remind you. So you're going to be asking her that. Always try to get to every one of those. An example of who, what, when, where, why, how, when you're in that emotional why pocket. And the one example that I told my team, because I love it, I love that Tim Penso made on a call. Again, you should listen to all the calls, is because he says the longer that you stay in the pocket like a quarterback, the more families you're going to help. And for those of you that are, not familiar with football, which is means that, if you see a football field and you have like the 10-yard line, 20-yard line, 30-yard line, so forth, and the quarterback is in the 10-yard line, he's that much closer to the goal, so they don't have to run across the field. They're close, so they have a better chance of making that goal, the football goal. And so when you are in the pocket right there, that's how much closer you are to helping them. And the longer you stay there, the more families you're going to help, because this how we help people, and you guys hear it all the time, it is more of an emotional sell. And so maybe someone else can help me out here, because there was a thing that I heard, they said, and I love it, and it's something about stories sell, numbers tell, something like that. So when you're telling them a story, when you're actually opening them up with emotion, that is way more powerful than I know that this product does for you, and it's going to do this for you, and this is what you need, and blah, 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 blah. That used to be me. Yes, facts tell, stories sell. Facts tell, stories sell. Write that down. I'm going to write it down. Facts tell, stories sell. That cannot be more true. As John Paul Vetter says, true story. Facts tell, stories sell. So, and what that means is that, if you sit there and talk all day long about what a product does for them, you may as well just talk to yourself in a mirror all day long, because you're not going to help anybody. But the minute that you start getting to storytelling and getting them to open up, and you're asking them more and more questions about what's important to them and their why, I guarantee you are going to help a lot more families. There was a couple other points that I wanted to cover. I know we're got 1 minute left. When you have couples, here's something I learned this last year. When you're asking a lot of questions, and sometimes it'll get uncomfortable. And, I had a husband and wife. These were some large policies that I helped them with. And they are very smart people. They had, like almost $1 million home. And they were just getting, a critical period. They were, contemplating like a $40,000 living promise on each of them. Well, they were determining the different amounts. And what they did is as I asked them all the questions, and I'll always ask them, which one of these, that we talked about holds the most value to you? Because that's usually my ticket of like, okay, then I go to application. Well, she said, well, I really like this one. And then he started talking to her about, well, we've got, these bills and that bills, and they kind of got into it. And I just kept quiet. And it was probably a good 2 or 3 minutes. That's a long time when you're just sitting there listening to them go back and forth. And I was quiet. I didn't say anything. And it was kind of uncomfortable. I didn't know, like, okay, should I look around? So I just kind of sat there like this, and I'd look down at my paper, and, and they're just going at it. And then finally, but I was listening, but I was not talking. So be quiet, let them work it out. And they did. And she came back, and then I saw her take the paper, and she didn't want to say some things out loud. And she's like, so, well, Tom, whoever her husband's name was, she'd say, this is the one I think that we should do. And he's like, well, this one, so they didn't want to say the price, but they were choosing it. So because they were in the matter of choosing it in the moment, I was going to be quiet. And then lo and behold, they turned around and I said, okay, we feel like we could do this one. And I said, okay. All right, and then I said, so, all right, now we're just, just want to, it just went into the, application process. Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen with you so you can see the medical questions, because there's a, just a small number of medical questions, and then just went right into the application. So those are some of the most important things that I want you to take away from here today, is that we're helping them by asking them open-ended questions that make them think and that make them tell us their why. Because the most important part of us helping them is going to be for them to tell us and for us to validate it, and then to say, here's what, this is what I would recommend looking at this. Would you agree? Yeah, I agree, Stella. I like that. I'm so happy you came here today because, we didn't see it this way, and sometimes it may be that they're telling me, oh my gosh, you know what? Thank you so much. We thought, we were worried about having to cover the whole mortgage. And then I just got done helping them, find a plan with Living Promise or some final expense, that is, it's still, over, and it's not about the APV, but I'm just saying the value in all of it. Sometimes your oldest couples, the APV, they're spending $200 plus a month. And that is a bigger, better value to them, for a final expense that's going to help his husband or wife with, 6 months or a year to give her time. And then a lot of, and if they're 70 or under, I will always bundle that, with accidental, because then you get a better app count too. But that's the biggest things that I want to share with you. I'm sorry for going over, Chris, but this stuff I just love, and I can talk about it all day because I'm all about relationship building. And so I love all this, and I hope that you at least got one nugget today to take away with you to help you over the holidays to go help those families who need you.
Very good. That's awesome. Great job, Cindy. And that is very, very worthwhile, the time that you put in going through that. That is awesome. I know it's going to help a lot of people out. And I've told people before, and I believe this wholeheartedly, that if you got nothing right about the in-home presentation, if the only thing you got right was the why conversation, I mean, you totally botch everything else and screw up the entire process. But if you did a good why conversation, I'm convinced that you would have you would have a lot of success in this business. So great job, team Dinwiddie. I appreciate you guys jumping on and really sharing. So let's go out. Let's take this this fantastic data that Stella was able to deliver, and hey, let's put it into practice. Questions are the answer. So go out, guys. Let's hit it hard this weekend. Have a great weekend. Load up your weekend, early part of next week. Get a head start on the holiday. Don't forget, again, hey, Black Friday. I think that's going to be one of our best sales days of the week. So don't discount that as an opportunity to really put in some significant business. So great job. I appreciate you all. Thanks for being on. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we will be talking again very soon. So thanks, guys. Have a great day.